The end of the year is almost here, but it is not too late to call Molly Morris at M3 Virtual Accounting to get help for your tax needs this season and to get a jump on next season so that you aren't panicking and scrambling at the end of the year like you might be if you don't already have Molly's help. Check her out. Get a completely free consultation at m3virtualaccounting.com. She will talk through what it is that you're looking for and what you need and whether she can help. I highly recommend her. She has been such a huge help for me. m3virtualaccounting.com.
This is an Unspoiled Network podcast.
This is Some Spoiled, A Song of Ice and Fire 2, the co-host switcheroo, the rereading, Return to Westeros, etc., covering A Dance with Dragons. Chapters 16 and 17, Daenerys and Jon. In both of these chapters, we've got people who are in a corner and do not know how to get out of it. They're being presented with options, but they don't like them. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
All right, Daenerys. What did you think of this? I can't remember if this happens in the show, where he's just basically like, take the fucking boats and go.
I don't remember this at all. I really don't. I don't remember this at all. That's exactly what he's like. Just like, get the fuck out of here. You have come over here. You have fucked everybody's shit up. Just take your raggedy ass dragons, take these boats and go. And I did not remember
100%.
if this was on the show or not. I don't remember this. I was like so surprised to see him here. Zero, to see him back. And I don't know if Austin Arminio talking about right now all those notes and then us having questions.
Listen, I am so sorry, you guys, but my brain, speaking purely for myself, has lately become oatmeal. I'm doing my best. I appreciate all of y'all's patience, endless patience, and I know for a fact plenty of you listeners would be able to offer a more factually accurate podcast about the book, which I welcome you to do. I really, this is not me being snarky. I'm genuinely like, folks would love it. Do that. But I can only do so much with my oatmeal. I'm doing my best.
I was trying to segue into, I don't know if Austin mentions it in his notes, whether or not this was on the TV show or not.
He does not. He does not. Yeah, for those who aren't in the Facebook group, Austin said, please don't take this the wrong way, but sometimes it feels like I make all of these notes about lore and intricate backstory, and you guys are like, what's Robert's brother's name? Stanley?
I almost pissed myself. I laughed so hard at that fucking comment. I swear to God. And he's Stanley from now on. Like, we're going to talk about Stanley. This next chapter has got a lot of Stanley in it. And so y'all just get ready.
And listen, our conversation where we were just like, nobody's listening for Stannis, nobody sees it for Stannis, and we don't think Stannis would be that good a king, and he's kind of full of shit. I wasn't aware of how many Stannis stands.
There are stands.
Got some stands in the old Discord, and they got very in their feelings about us being so dismissive of their guy.
Oh shit!
And it was when I say paragraphs, I mean it.
Oh no!
That it was usually I will read through a whole thing, but I was very much in the I'm happy for you or I'm sorry that happened territory because it was too much. I couldn't do it all.
Is your Zencastr recording? Because
Yeah.
my GarageBand stopped. I just hit record again, and it was only you talking. So I'm just gonna just keep recording. But
Okay, that's
just
fine.
in case. Stands. All right, y'all. My bad. I didn't know y'all was riding. Didn't know y'all was riding so hard for your king. Is this your king?
Yeah.
I mean, I might have to hop
Look,
into this.
you're starting some shit. Ooh. Woo!
But all right, but before we get the Stanley,
listen, anybody listening, if you have a compelling argument about Stannis that you want Rashawn to see, I think most of it was in the spoiler chat, which you can't go into that channel. So copy paste into the no spoilers and make sure it actually doesn't have spoilers. But I don't think most of those arguments did. I think they were mostly just talking about where we're at so far.
Oh, okay.
And that way, she can read and respond. If she is so inclined.
For a while at the beginning of these books, Stannis was low key my guy,
Mm-hmm.
But he just has gone really off the rails. And I cannot abide it, y'all. I can't co-sign it.
I just feel like I think that he has good intentions a lot of the time, but he is not great at navigating people, and that is just such a key skill at being a good king. And I don't know how, you know what I'm saying? Like, just the way he responds to Jon's advice in this chapter and how dismissive he is of things until Jon has to really talk him through it. And I appreciate that he listens.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
He gets to a point where he's like, I guess I can do that. But man, he really digs his heels in over stuff sometimes. And I'm just like, dude, what do you think being a king is? Come on. But like I said, he does listen. He gets there eventually, so maybe it's fine.
I feel like, if anything, this next chapter, the Stanley chapter, is, even though I'm not rocking with him, is like being king. It is probably a better look for him than we've gotten in a minute, in my opinion. Only because he does eventually shut up and tell the peanut gallery that they can be excused, and then listens to what Jon has to say. And that is at least a move in the right direction, I think.
Agree.
But it's a small thing, It's like he got something right halfway through through Jon's chapter. So I'm just gonna.
We are setting them off. I'm so sorry, everybody. We got to start at the beginning with Daenerys,
beginning, yeah.
Daenerys is watching these dancers who are naked.
Yeah,
and
she's got
the men dancing have big old boners,
and
she's
an erotic Cirque du Soleil kind of situation happening. It's it's very continental. It's like you said, she's feeling some feelings. This bit about her looking around at everybody who's watching and their reactions to the performance is so it's so varied across the different people who are watching. The Unsullied, of course, are standing there like statues. They're unmoved. Yes. And then there are some people who are like cartoons with their eyes bulging out and their tongue practically,
But yeah, and she keeps on being like, it must be the wine. And I'm just like, girl, it's all right to just be like, I like dick. It's fine. Just go ahead and like dick. It's no problem.
I don't think she understands that it's actually okay. She hasn't reached that part of her story yet, which is a real bummer. I hope she hurry up and gets there.
Yeah, agree.
And I had forgotten
very much.
This Zaro is my God, he is so obnoxious. Everything is so overly flowery, and it's I know that this is a bit, right? Like, I get it. I get that this is all about just kind of like how full of shit he is, and where in the place that he's from, and the way he speaks is telling us a lot of things about him. But it is so tiring to read. I wanted him to shut up like yesterday, even though he was saying like some important shit. I would have paid it for it to literally be anyone else speaking this whole chapter.
Yeah, this is the sort of thing that's like, I would imagine speaking as plainly as you and I do would be just considered like straight up rude, like what he's doing for where he is from. This is the way that you are polite and show respect, you know, but it feels like so roundabout and so like meandering. Can we just get to the fucking point, dude?
Not meandering, like you're dancing around whatever it is you're trying to say, because like you said, it would be considered rude to just come out and say it. But also it's so over the top that it loses, in my opinion, all effectiveness. Like it none of it lands. It all feels like bullshit. And that could just be me, you know, but like I'm trying to imagine him on like regular day doing regular business, and this is how him and his fellow merchants have to speak to each other. And I just, please shoot me right now, just out of my misery, please. But yeah, he's in town, and he cannot get over her beauty, how she somehow is even more beautiful than he remembered, and he has been heartbroken since she left him. His home has felt empty. Meanwhile, if I recall, and Daenerys is like, yeah, you basically ran me out of town on a fucking rail, dude. What are you talking about?
Yeah, that's part of the thing as well, is like, we're going to politely behave as if that didn't happen, and I'm going to behave as if I don't know about it. And like, you have to in kind just be like, oh, it was simply time to leave, and not call me out.
Yeah.
I don't have the patience for this. I would 100% be like, oh, it's so weird that you say that, because I could have sworn that you were very glad to see the back of me based on the threats to my life. Do you remember those? Like, I don't know.
Yeah. And then there's the sort of like tacit understanding that she can't in fact just come out and say that. She has to participate in this this weird dance that he's doing with her. But he has come, and turns out it takes for fucking ever, y'all, to get here. But eventually what we find out is that he has come with 13 ships. I love it too. She's like, 13, right? So you went and got one from each master, because you weren't just going to come up off of 13 of your own ships.
Yeah. Yep. Evidence of him being, cautious himself about how much the other 13 also want her the fuck out of here. Yeah, a lot going on there.
Yeah. But in between the reveal about him having these ships, they have this conversation about slavery and the benefits of it and why it's necessary, you know. And quite frankly, these are like arguments that are like not new arguments. They're quite old, and you know, are global, I think. But the whole idea of like who, like, because she says something about freeing the performers, the dancers that were just there, and he's like, so you're gonna free them to do what? So they can be digging ditches? And she's like, well, maybe they'd like that. Have you even bothered to ask them what they want to do?
Yeah. And he talks about running into this dude that he used to know.
Yeah.
It is a really like compelling moment, actually, because she clearly isn't ready for some of the facts that he is telling her.
Oh, yeah, no, not at all.
But this guy that he ran into was, let's see. As it happens, when I came ashore in your sweet city, I chanced to see upon the riverbank a man who had once been a guest in my manse, a merchant who dealt in rare spices and choice wines. He was naked from the waist up, red and peeling, and seemed to be digging a hole. Not a hole, a ditch to bring water from the river to the fields. We mean to plant beans. The bean fields must have water. How kind of my old friend to help with the digging, and how very unlike him. Is it possible he was given no choice in the matter? No, surely not. You have no slaves in Meereen. Your friend is being paid with food and shelter. I cannot give him back his wealth. Meereen needs beans more than it needs rare spices, and beans require water. Would you set my dancers to digging ditches as well? Sweet queen, when he saw me, my old friend fell to his knees and begged me to buy him as a slave and take him back to Karth. She felt as if he'd slapped her. Buy him then, if it please you. I know it will please him. And I'm paying him with food and shelter, Danny?
Not great. That's not a great answer.
Well, what does that sound like to you? Like,
yeah.
I don't know what you think that is.
Yeah, he brings up a couple of arguments that she really can't answer. And it's and you know, these are the types of questions that are raised to dance around the bigger issue, right? Of just that you cannot own other people. Full stop. That's it.
Yeah.
All your little questions and all your little scenarios and all those are all like thought experiments and little traps, right? And it's why you cannot engage in those types of conversations, because before you know it, they will have you kind of fucked up. Because it does. Like, I don't know the situation with this. I know what Zero is saying that Danny is doing with his old friend, the former merchant, right? Who's now out there digging ditches because he needs to survive, right? And getting food and shelter in exchange for your labor can, right, look and sound exactly like slavery.
Yep.
Or it can sound like a different type of slavery, which is when you do a job for food and shelter. You know what I mean? Like if you're if you're getting paid and all you can afford, really, or you can barely afford, is the minimum of food and shelter. That's not a great situation to be in, but it's not the same as owning a person. But it's bad. Definitely. But it's bad on its own for other reasons. You know? But so he gets her like all hemmed up, you know, and has her feeling because she also has all this other shit that's happening. His other thing that he won't shut up about, and he's probably, I mean, he's so many people want to kill you. I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to save you because so many people want to kill you. He
really, yeah.
Right. Like, but you're part of that number, aren't you, sir? Like you're here pretending like you're not, but we all know that if she doesn't do what you want her to do, you are going to be counted among that number of all of these people that are desperate for her to be murdered as soon as possible.
Yeah.
But I just love that he's like spends the whole chapter trying to save her from himself. Honestly, which is what's happening.
Yeah, he tries to frame it all as doing her this big favor, but it's basically in the end just straight up blackmail. Take these and get out, or we can't guarantee what's going to happen to you.
Yeah, and she keeps trying, like, you know what? What does he say to her? Where are your blood riders at? And she has, you know, he's like making note of, you don't seem as protected as you once were. You know, where are your blood riders? Where's your bear? Which, I mean, I'm glad somebody mentioned Jorah, because people would act like that he never even existed. And it's not that I necessarily miss him, but like I was like, oh, somebody remembered his name. How nice. Because when Daenerys was basically like, you don't exist anymore, and everybody got the memo. Like, ain't nobody said that man's name once since then.
Yeah, that is true. That is fucking true. It's like he didn't exist. Power, man. What it can do.
But
Um,
when Zero shows up too, I just want to mention this. It's not really a plot point, but it's something that I thought about. So, and I wanted to go back, but I couldn't remember what chapter it was. But when she gets visited by Quaithe,
Quaithe.
Quaithe,
It's unclear how to say it. I
and
say Quaithe.
she gives her that, the warning, and
Mm-hmm.
she warns about a perfumed counselor showing up,
Mm-hmm.
and then Zero showed up, and I was like, is that? But I don't think that's who it was. But it made me think about the prophecy. I was like, oh, she's got a visitor, and I didn't know he was coming, so I was like, I wonder if that's who she's talking about. But he's being so it's so clear what his intentions are. I don't think you would need a prophecy to warn you about him, right?
Agree.
So
Yeah.
I don't think it was him, but I wanted to share with you guys that my brain was like, oh shit, hold up now.
Yeah, I think that a counselor, he doesn't really count as a counselor. He's like a erstwhile ally,
Erstwhile ally.
but you know what I mean?
I
Like,
do,
but
I
I don't
do.
know if a counselor is technically really
Yeah.
what I would say
Yeah.
he was.
No,
I don't know.
he's just here for a very specific thing, trying to get this like
Yeah.
broker a deal and get her to take it and he goes away, or she doesn't take it and he goes away. So it's like a one-off deal. But I didn't realize that when he's first introduced, right? I was just like, oh shit, is he here now? is he part of our story? But it turns out though he's just here for this one very specific task. And then, so what else did they talk about? This,
There's a whole thing here where they're talking about the changes in the city. She says Marine has salt to sell and wine, and he says Giscari wine. And it's funny because he says this after earlier the same chapter, her drinking wine and being like, oh man, thank God this isn't that nasty Giscari wine. So like she's in complete agreement with him. The sea provides all the salt that Karth requires, but I would gladly take as many olives as you cared to sell me. Olive oil as well.
he knows
And
good well she
she
don't have no
says,
goddamn olive oil. He knows she doesn't.
yeah, the slavers burned the trees. And the whole way that this, oh my God, I have copper, a pretty metal, but fickle as a woman. Gold, now gold is sincere. Karth will gladly give you gold for slaves. Marine is a free city of free men, a poor city that was once rich, a hungry city that was once fat, a bloody city that was once peaceful. His accusations stung. There was too much truth in them.
Yeah. I mean, she has come into this place and completely upended their way of life, and it's messy. It's messy, 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 messy. And I don't even know, like, reconstruction is hard work. Lots of places don't do it successfully. We didn't in the United States do it successfully. It gets to be so arduous that powers just end up giving up to go back to having some sort of semblance of peace or whatever. They end up reverting to the old order and usually just give it a new name, because the work it takes to move through it and come out on the other side of it is hard. And a lot of people don't make it, and it's a lot of turmoil and suffering. And I don't have any like advice for her, how to move through this. I really don't. I can see that she's struggling, and I don't know what she should be doing differently.
Yeah, it's a really tricky situation. She just hasn't replaced the old economy with anything new, and thus everything is remaining in this weird area where since folks have no alternatives that they can turn to, they're just trying to become slaves again because they don't have the imagination, and she hasn't really put anything into place. Like, if she had decided everybody's going to get a stipend, and we're going to create housing that is accessible and loans that you could apply for businesses and actually create some opportunities for people. But she's just decided you're free, figure it out.
And like and this is probably, I'm sure that it was talked about, but as she's moving through these cities and freeing these slaves and getting rid of the masters, what has become of all that wealth? Like,
I thought it had been just like taken by her.
See, and this is where so there was no like real redistribution of the wealth. There was, like, I'm taking all the gold that was here and we're going to use it to do A, B, and C, all of these big mansions where one family of masters would live with like 3 dozen, slaves is now going to be housing for, whoever. But I can't remember if that's really how she did any of this.
I don't recall.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I'm thinking about like how many of the masters just basically were set upon by their slaves, and the slaves took the wealth. In some cases, just like,
maybe that's what
and
happened.
I don't know if like what happened to it. Did they squander it, or is there simply nothing to buy anymore because of the way things have shaken out? Like, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't know.
They're just she's in such an incredibly. Oh, he's also like, and where your dragons at? Last time I saw you, they were never. They were always on you. Now your shoulder is very bare.
Yeah, that whole thing, the where your dragons at situation. She's got, again, not really a good answer for him, because all she can say is, oh, they're out hunting, but she has no control over them like she would need to have. And she knows that. And I feel like he's aware of she doesn't know what he's heard.
Yeah.
After he says that, she's thinking to herself, like, what does he know?
Yeah,
but she can't say.
I feel like he's heard a little something. He's heard something.
I think so.
Yeah. But all of this just to really make it clear that she's trying her best. She's like, well, we just made a deal with she calls the Lamb people by their proper name. And he's like, well, you know what they say about the Lamb people, right? She's trying to make that alliance sound like it means more than it actually means. And he's just, everything he's saying is about how alone she is in this part of the world, how much she's failing in this part of the world, how unwanted she is by everybody, the people in the city that she's trying to rule, the people in the cities that she's left. Some other places that aren't even involved are, like, according to him, about to like join this war because she's fucked with their shit as well, just by the disruption she's created.
Yeah.
She's down Jorah, she's down dragons, she's down some blood riders. It's just all making her look very, very vulnerable. And I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I appreciate this storyline of her trying to go out there and free everybody on her way to the throne. But I wanted her to get on them ships, y'all.
Amen.
Is that wrong?
No.
I feel like that's very wrong.
And I understand her feelings of guilt, because like when so he offers these ships, she's like, let me inspect them and get back to you, because, who knows what the fuck kind of shit he's offering her in the first place. And Barristan Selmy, for his part, is like, yeah, you should definitely go.
Please.
And the dude that she assigned as like admiral, even though she has no ships, is God. Like, sweet ships, I might be admiral of something. Everybody is on board except for a few people who were residents of Meereen before all of this went down, which makes sense because they have been her allies, and now she's about to bounce, and they're
Yeah.
just going to be left here to
Yeah.
hold the bag when, you know, all of this is just completely imploded,
Yeah,
basically.
they're like, you're just gonna fucking leave us here to die. And somebody
Yeah.
is like, I don't know if it's her or if it's Selmy, but one of them is like, somebody says to this guy, she freed you. It's up to you to defend your freedom. And it might actually have been Daenerys who said it, which is weird because it doesn't sound like something that Daenerys would say. But she says, I gave Astapor freedom.
I think it was Barristan who said that to what's his face, who's whining all the friggin' time. Is it not?
It's it says it's Daenerys at one point. Many of my freedmen were slaves in Astapor. Perhaps some will wish to help defend your king. Oh, this is her talking to who is she talking to here? Lord Gale?
Oh, yeah, because then Resnack says they'll make slaves of us or throw us in the pits. All will be as it was or worse. Where's your courage? Sir Barristan lashed out. Her grace freed you from your chains. It is for you to sharpen your swords and defend your own freedom when she leaves.
Oh, okay. So it's two different spots then where this comes up. Okay, because now she's at this point where I'm reading, she's talking to Gale because he's talking about Cleon, Great Cleon. And he's asking her to come back to Astapor. And she's just like, no, I freed you. It's up to you to defend it. Yeah, she's ready to go. She was ready to go.
I totally understand her feelings of guilt after creating the chaos that she has, not wanting to just leave. But girl, you got to leave though. Like, you don't have any solutions. Nobody's happy with you. Everybody surrounding you wants you gone, which is a really, really dangerous place to be. What are you gaining? It's just purely her guilt and pride. You know? That's not enough.
Not wanting to admit that defeat or that she wasn't able to do what she said she was going to do. She ends up telling everybody that she's not leaving. And when she does, she's just like, you're all my people. You know, I won't abandon Marine. So Westeros has to wait. And if she, oh my God, did you hear that?
No, what?
Okay.
Was that a cat?
Yeah. She's just walking from room to room, yowling for no reason. And she wants to play with somebody, but girl, it's late. Everybody playing with you. But like, so in my heart, I wanted her to get on those ships, but I'm going to be very frank. If that had happened, I probably would be talking shit. I'd be like, look at this girl leaving after she'd made all this mess. Now she gonna leave.
Yeah.
So I am one of those readers that you just can't, you have put me in, you have created a situation that's so frustrating because not only does it not seem like Dany knows what the fuck to do, I don't know what the fuck she should do. And clearly George Martin doesn't seem like he knows what the fuck she should be doing either, because this is just a mess. And I don't see any way out of it. And I made this joke early on before we got to this part of the books where on the TV show, they have her just get on a dragon and fly away.
Yep.
And you know what? The longer this goes on, the more I'm like, bitch, just get on a dragon and fly away. Like, I don't know how else you're going to get out of this.
Yes, I get it. It sort of makes sense why they went in that direction.
I mean,
because I don't like to admit it, but
I don't know, like, and I don't, again, because I don't know where you told me that. I think you told me that by the time we get to the end of this book, she's still here. Like, this has not been resolved, and the books, you know, obviously are not done, right? So that is, knowing that, it's going to be very frustrating reading these Daenerys chapters, knowing that that he has written her into a very, very sticky situation. And I am dead curious, like, what he is imagining the like, he's probably not imagining shit now, but at some point he had to have been imagining a resolution to this. And I'm so curious of what it is he thought he was going to do with the situation. You know, like,
Yeah.
I guess the only thing, like, if she were to marry somebody that was local, and if they really believed in her vision, maybe she could leave them to rule in her stead. But there's so much power and money behind the people that don't want her to be there, that if she is not, if her ass isn't on the seat, and there's at least the threat, the specter of dragons, they are rolling all up in the town. It doesn't, they are coming in. They're coming in. So she can't leave. What a mess. What a mess.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. Like, I just, he really did sort of write himself into a corner here.
Mm-hmm.
And busting out with the dragons and just taking off. I get it. I really do. So yeah, the chapter ends with her just being like, I can't go. And Zaro is just like, are you fucking for real? And she says,
he cries again because these motherfuckers cry. Anytime they get the slightest bit of bad news, like a little teardrop comes down.
They can do it on command, which is wild. Like, how do you train whatever? But he says, take these ships or you will surely die screaming. You cannot know how many enemies you have made. I know one stands before me now, weeping Mummer's tears. The realization made her sad. And then he says, I should have slain you in Karth.
Mm-hmm.
And she's like, oh, really? You're just going to fucking threaten me? And he's like, no, promising you shit. And she says, all right, well, you had better be gone by the time the sun's up or you are not going to like what happens to you. The next morning, Zaro's galleys was gone, galleus, but the gift he had brought her remained behind in Slaver's Bay. Long red streamers flew from the mass of the 13 Carthene galleys writhing in the wind. And when Daenerys descended to hold court, a messenger from the ships awaited her. He spoke no word, but laid at her feet a black satin pillow upon which rested a single blood-stained glove. What is this? Shakaz demanded. A bloody glove means war, said the queen.
Mm-hmm.
I will say, the fact that he just went ahead and like left the ships, I was like, well, then she still has a chance. She could just still go, but.
Yeah. I mean, I for a second I was like, maybe she will still just go, but then I remembered that no, she's not going nowhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is. I guess she could use the ships for some other things, right? There's other places to go. Maybe she can send some people out. Maybe they won't go completely to waste. But she's gonna have to fucking figure some shit out. She's got people starving. There's violence. She's got like these little militias that she's raised up. These 3, I forget the names, like the mother's sons, and there's like 2 other ones that are out. It's the Brazen Beast, I think, is one. And so she's got, and these are Marinese who have joined her, but it's so unsafe to be like publicly aligned with Daenerys that they wear masks at night when they go out patrolling. So like your brand, if your brand is so weak that people gotta hide that they're in, alliance with you, that's not great.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's also a couple of notes here from Austin. Yunkai is hiring numerous mercenary companies.
Mm-hmm.
One of them is the Windblown, which is the one that Quentin joined up with in his chapter.
Right. I thought that sounded familiar.
Pyat Pri and the rest of the warlocks have left Karth, which is a real weird one.
Well, there's a mention. I think Daenerys has to talk to somebody about Pyat Pete. Is she talking to Selmy, maybe?
I thought she was talking to that. This was news that Zaro brought with him.
Zaro tells her that that they're still out looking for her. You know, that she's in danger because, but the way Zaro says it, I thought that it was just like one or two. I didn't realize that all of them had left.
Gotcha.
So if the whole cult has left and is on the road looking for her, again, none of this is good news.
True. Speaking of not good news, let's go to Jon's chapter, where we're finding out how little food there is. It looks like a lot of food.
I was about to say, I was really impressed with their rations until they boo-hooed it and was like, this is not enough to feed all the people we gotta feed. Because I was like,
yeah,
oh shit, they're stocked up. They're stocked up really well. They're gonna be all right. And then the man was like, no, we're not gonna be all right at all.
Yeah, it's enough if we didn't have to deal with everybody from Molestown and all of the wildlings.
And all of Stannis' people.
Right, yes.
Like they would have been fine taking care of themselves, which is what they had been preparing for, and they had done a really good job of it. But they have all of these extra fucking mouths to feed. And not to jump too far ahead, but for just a second, since we're talking about the food, there's a thing when he's talking with Stannis, and Jon insists that Stannis turned the wildlings over to Jon. And I don't know if I understand what that is about.
You mean why he wants them?
Well, does he think he's saving them from going to battle for Stannis? Or
I think he's thinking he can use them on the wall to defend against the others.
Oh, okay.
That they don't have enough like manpower to do the job. So
okay, all right. And it was just weird to me because he like when he unless I just missed it, which is very possible. I kept waiting for him to tell Stannis like why it's so important that you leave them with me, why I have to have them. But maybe it's just the kind of thing that's so apparent that it would be silly to state it, and I just wasn't thinking of it.
That's what my assumption was.
Okay. Well, no, it's a good assumption. I mean that makes sense in a because I was coming up with nothing. So that's very good. It's a very good assumption.
All right. Well, good. So yeah, the all of this food is being kept under the wall, so it's super cold, and things stay good for a while. In the granaries were oats and wheat and barley, barrels of coarse ground flour. In the root cellars, strings of onions and garlic dangled from the rafters. And there's just like tons of herbs and spices and like hams and smoked stuff and vegetables and fruits even. So they aren't going to get scurvy at the very least. It's looking good.
The one thing they're short on is lime, so there's some concern about the people's dental health. But other than that, they seem pretty well sorted.
And the whole, like, what it ends up with is just we can't keep feeding everybody we are, but we have to. But how? We'll figure it out. Which isn't the best answer. And for now, we've got to pull our rations back quite a bit, which nobody is going to like. And everybody is already irritated with Jon. So he's like, that's going to make me so popular. Can't wait to tell everybody about that.
I love when he makes the decision to ration the food a little bit. And he gives a really small number. And the guy he's talking to is like, oh, that's going to be super helpful. That's going to be great because it's clearly not enough of cutting back.
He says, after that, we'll be drinking the blood of our own horses. Yum, declared Dolores Ed. Nothing beats a hot cup of horse blood on a cold night. I like mine with a pinch of cinnamon sprinkled on top.
Fucking Dolores.
Shut up, sir. You're not helping the situation. Jesus Christ.
I love too that whoever Dolores Ed interrupts just keeps on talking as he hasn't said a thing.
Yep. Just the best thing to do is ignore him. Don't encourage him.
It's the only thing to do. We all know that. So they figure that the rest of the food out, and then John has a thought where he's thinking about like who can they reach out to for help. Because somebody is like, if we had money, we could fucking buy some food. And John is like, if we had money, sure, but who would sell us food? And then he's like, maybe the Erie. And then that makes him think of Catelyn. And he's just like, I wonder how Catelyn's sister would feel about feeding Ned's bastard.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right. It's so wild how like that. I mean, that's always going to be a thing for him. You know, it was such a harsh way to grow up. And he was like so impacted by the way she treated him and how she made him feel that even in these moments where you don't think there's going to be a single connection, like how does his brain get there? All it takes is like one thought and boom, you're right back there in it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's just like he's the fucking Lord Commander of the Night's Watch, and it's not enough to get away from that. So they return to the surface, and Devin, who, by the way, is Davos's son,
Oh, that's right.
He's being harried by Ghost, and by harried I mean Ghost is simply there. But this poor kid is so flipped out by him that he's like not moving. And finally, at one point, he does move, and it's so sudden that Ghost does bare his teeth, and the kid is like, Jesus Christ! See, this is what I didn't want to deal with. But he says that His Grace commands your presence. You mean requests, Dolores said. His Grace requests the presence of the Lord Commander. That's how I'd say it. Leave it be, Ed. Oh, I'm sorry, but that cracked me up so bad. That's how I'd say it.
The Wrong Way Rangers really cracked me up because he keeps calling them that throughout this whole chapter. These
yes.
two guys.
And when he goes in, he runs into Rattleshirt, who is wearing this red gem.
What is happening here?
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, she tells us this Ruby thing is she's got basically a bond with him now and she has control over him. How we got here is my question. And why him? Is it because I don't know. Actually, I don't know. Is he also a warg, this new Magnar or Flynn?
Magnar?
Yeah, he's not. There's nothing like supernatural about him. He's not like no, right. So I was trying to think what about him would appeal to Melisandre to make her.
But this is Rattleshirt. Is he? Oh, he is the young Magnar. Then Sigorn was there as well. I thought you were talking about Rattleshirt because he's not the Magnar.
No, who has the ruby? Is it Rattleshirt that has the ruby?
It's Rattleshirt, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. I don't know what this is. I have no idea what she's doing with him. Why she would. I guess Stannis wants the wildlings to fight for him, and Stannis plans on having Rattleshirt like lead his own sort of like little brigade, right? So you would want him to make sure that you have control over him. But if I'm not mistaken, when Jon and Stannis start talking a little bit later on, there's a couple of different little groups of wildlings that Stannis is going to have out, and they don't all have these little rubies. So that kind of shoots that theory of mine down. I don't know.
Well, it's a good question. But yeah, he's allegedly like fully under Melisandre's control. And so Stannis is like, yeah, you can have him. And it's like, oh, thanks for giving me a fucking thrall, basically. Appreciate it. But it's very double-edged sword, that one. And this is when Stannis reveals his plan and is like, it's something that Jon, for his part, thinks is a really, really bad idea. But all of the dudes that are backing Stannis seem to think that Jon's objections are purely on the basis of his being a coward and not because he has any understanding of like the tactical advantages and disadvantages. So they're just really quick to be like, ha, you fucking craven. And it's just like, you didn't even listen. Like, he hasn't even gotten to explain anything yet. You were just immediately jumping down his throat. It's so like juvenile.
Jon also has a deep understanding of the people of the North, and they're not giving that any fucking taking it seriously at all. You know, there's one guy makes a joke about, oh, I forgot about you Northerners and your fucking trees, or something really dismissive like that. When Jon suggested somebody like be made to swear an oath in front of their tree, and that was somebody's response. And then what sort of God lets himself be pissed on upon dogs? Another guy fucking says. Because this starts with Stannis asking about an umber. I forget which one, but he wants to know about an umber. And so Jon tells
I'm looking
us
for it here.
Moore's umber. So that's the guy that's with Ramsay, or is it the other umber that's with Ramsay?
I'm trying to find the spot here. Let's see. Oh my god, I forgot about it. The elder of the great Jon's uncles, Crow Food they call him. A crow once took him for dead and pecked out his eye. He caught the bird in his fist and bit its head off. All right. When Morse was young, he was a fearsome fighter. His son died on the Trident, his wife in childbed. His only daughter was carried off by wildlings 30 years ago. That's why he wants the head, said Harwood Fell.
Right. So Morse is maybe thinking about throwing in with Stannis because he wants Mance's skull. So then there's another brother who's in league with Bolton. And the other brother is Horsebane, who we met already.
Yeah.
Right. And then they tell us a crazy story about him, too. They call him that because he disemboweled a whore that tried to rob him 50 years ago. And then it said, Moores, the crow food, likes to boast about his nickname. But Horsebane, whose name is Hother, is only told in whispers, most likely because the whore he disemboweled had been a man. Dun, dun. There was also that moment in Daenerys' chapter when Zero is trying to act like he's trying to make a move, like he really wants to fuck her. He don't want to fuck her, and she says something like, "I saw which dancers you were watching."
And he's like, yeah, the same ones as you. Look at how much we have in common. And there's something about that. There's like, yeah, I could play that, whatever.
There was a great line when she makes it clear that they're not going to have sex, and she's like, she could see the relief in his eyes.
So at this point, have other lords declared for Bolton too? The Red Priestess slid closer to the king. I saw a town with wooden walls and wooden streets filled with men. Banners flew. A moose, a battle axe, 3 pine trees, long axes crossed beneath a crown, a horse's head with fiery eyes. Hornwood, Serwyn, Tallheart, Risewell, and Dustin. Traitors all, lapdogs of the Lannisters. Which I really have to say, how low-key impressive I always find it when somebody can just rattle off the names of everybody who's like heraldry they've just heard.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I know that's like the point of heraldry is so that everybody knows who you are. But just to me, not being immersed in anything like this, that sounds so hard to keep in mind.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It
And
just sounds
funny,
very
too,
overwhelming.
because we have watched, especially at the beginning of books when everybody was much younger and people were still in school, you know, Sansa and her lessons and Arya and her lessons, and we watched them learn this shit. And yet
Indeed.
I guess it's like when you're watching them learn it, it's like, you know, you're learning algebra, but when are you ever going to use it? But this is actually useful information. Like, this is them learning this shit.
Like, immediately useful.
Very useful.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, so then we have a lot of Jon really explaining like who the Umbers are, what kind of people they are, what they respond to, what they'll respect. And like you said earlier, this gallery of people that Stannis has around him are just, they're just like shooting down everything Jon says the minute he opens his mouth about literally anything.
It's so tiresome. And
Jon is like, the whole time he's like, why am I here? What does he want from me? Exactly.
Yeah.
Like what is it that he wants from me? And he's also reminding himself rather, the Night's Watch cannot take up arms. We cannot pick a side. You know, we have to stay out of this thing. And every time he offers Stannis a little bit more advice, a little bit more insight, it's like he's wondering, have I crossed the line yet? Does this mean I've thrown in now? Have I picked a side? There's also a fantastic moment with somebody who's calling himself Giant's Killer or whatever the fuck. And Jon is like, the
giant was running away. Oh man, that was hard to watch. Oh, that guy is so mad. He says the giant was running away, Moors won't be. The big night flushed. You have a bold tongue in the King's Solar Boy. In the yard, you sang a different song. I don't remember what happened in the yard.
I don't either. I don't know.
So at this point, he says, Stannis, look, I have tried to wait for the wildlings to attack the wall again. They haven't done it. So now I've got to deal with the other people that I've got. Basically watching for the opportunity to cut my throat. And Jon is immediately like, okay, and is immediately nervous about what this means. He starts to do the whole like, well, we can't take part in. Stannis is like, I fucking know that. Can you just stop with that? Jesus Christ, I get it. I have enough people without you, and I'm going to march on the Dreadfort. To which Jon is like, word?
You're going to do the what now? You're going to march where?
And he says...
Go ahead. I think you're about to
go ahead.
I was just going to say, Stannis is like, and if I take the Dreadfort unawares, and Jon is like, but you won't.
And everybody is immediately like, how dare you? The Craven sees an outlaw behind every blade of grass. Stannis raised a hand for silence. Explain your meaning. And Jon is like, oh God, where do I even start with explaining this? And he shows them, you are going to have to go down this way. And there is simply no way that you aren't going to be seen and spotted. They will be able to, like, unless you can get there before a raven or beacon fires are seen, you're not going to sneak. It's not happening. Moat Cailin will fall before you ever reach the Dreadfort. Once Lord Roose has joined his strength to Ramsay's, they will have you outnumbered 5-1. And
Stannis out here talking about my brother won battles at worst odds. Sir, you are not Robert Baratheon. I need you to calm the fuck down. What are you talking about?
he is just like, I mean, look, I get it. You want to show a tough face. You've got your men surrounding you. They came up with this plan. You don't want to be like, I can't do it. But the Iron Men are doughty fighters. I've heard it said the moat has never been taken. From the south, a small garrison in Moat Cailin can play havoc with any army coming up the causeway, but the ruins are vulnerable from the north and east. This is a bold stroke, but Roose, if he catches you under the walls with all his strength, that's it. That's a wrap. And their best response is basically, well, war is risky. That's how it goes.
That's the best they can do. A battle is a gamble. The man who does nothing also takes a risk, which is weak sauce. That is weak.
Very weak sauce.
And
it's tasteless, in fact.
Jon is like, there are risks and there are risks. But this one is too much, it's too soon, and it's too fucking far away. I know the dread for it. It's strong, it's all stone, it's got thick walls, massive towers. And these motherfuckers is ready for winter. They can be up in here for years. And then he talks about the last time someone tried to take it, and it was like a 2-year siege. And I don't even know if they won. I think he said it took them 2 years to starve the people out. Stannis don't have 2 years to wait to starve somebody out. And Stannis is like, oh, well, I can get siege towers if I need them. That is one thing, sir. There is 12 things that he just brought up, and I can get siege towers? No. No.
Yeah, it really is feeling like we decided on what we were going to do. And the fact that you have anything to say about the matter is impertinent at best to begin with. But then the doubts that you keep expressing are simply insulting.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, yeah, but how about the fucking sense of it though? Nobody wants to and eventually, like I said, Stannis is like, all right, look, everybody get the fuck out of here. I'm going to talk to Jon alone. They do not like that, for the record.
Yeah, they're very
irritated at being dismissed this way.
Meanwhile, Jon is like, everyone leave does not seem to apply to Melisandre because she doesn't even get up.
Yes. Horp and Massey aspire to your father's seat. Massey wants the wildling princess too. All of this to say, in the end, I could still make you Lord of Winterfell. Offer still on the table. Be super handy if you would just go ahead and do what I asked you to do.
Yeah.
And Jon is like,
This is Daenerys' 13 ships, right? This is
right.
You could just get out of this predicament that you're in and get on up to Winterfell, and I'll install you, and there'll still be a little bit of war happening, but you won't be stuck here at this wall, trying to lead a group of men who many don't even want to be following you at this point, who don't like you anymore, who don't think you should have command. You could just leave all this behind.
And of course, I'm sworn. Your father was a stubborn man as well. Honor, he called it. Well, honor has its costs, as Lord Eddard learned to his sorrow. If it gives you any solace, Horp and Massey are doomed to disappointment. I am more inclined to bestow Winterfell on Arnulf Karstark, a good Northman.
Since when is Stannis so dismissive of honor?
Look, I found this a weird thing to say as well.
Right.
I think that he thinks it's not honor, it's the law. Honor is about keeping your word, but if your word doesn't make sense with the situation or the rules, fuck your honor. Do what you're told to do.
Interesting. Okay.
Do your duty, But they are so linked to me that I thought it was a really weird line and had a moment of What?
Yeah.
So I get where you're coming from. I think that's where he like draws the distinction, but I am sort of making that up.
Yeah, I mean, because then he throws it in his, well, Eddard learned the hard way, that it has its cost, and that felt like a real indictment.
Yes.
Okay, but I just wanted to mention that. I'm glad that it kind of stuck out to you as well.
Yeah, it definitely did. And Jon, when he hears like it's going to a Karstark, are you kidding? He didn't stand by my fucking brother. And he's like, your brother cut his dad's head off. What did he think was going to fucking happen? And,
Stannis would have cut that man's head off too.
He would.
He absolutely would have, right?
I really agree. I do think he, no, he would have burned him.
Yes.
Same deal.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I believe so. Arnulf Karstark is an old man with a crooked back, and even in his youth, he was never the fighter Lord Rickard was. The rigors of the campaign may well kill him. He has heirs, Stannis snapped. 2 sons, 6 grandsons, some daughters. If Robert had fathered trueborn sons, many who are dead might still be living. Your grace would do better with Moore's crow food. The Dreadfort will be the proof of that. Then you mean to go ahead with this attack, despite the counsel of the great Lord Snow? Sir, get your temper under control.
Horp and Massey might be ambitious, but they are not wrong. I beg to differ.
Agree.
So Jon ultimately has another plan. He's got another way to go.
Yeah, what do you think?
Well, in exchange for this plan, he makes Stannis agree to let him keep the wildlings. And he's promising Stannis 3,000 men. And these are mountain clan folk, but not Tyrion's mountain clans. Or are they?
I don't think they are the same ones.
Yeah, because these names are all very different names. They have like family names, and Tyrion's mountain people. I mean, they were families too, but the names were a little bit more colorful.
Indeed, yes. And they were down by the Erie, so I don't think that he could.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, these are people who took to the mountains and never really aren't part of the realm in the way that we understand, right? And Jon is like, if you go to them, not as like I'm commanding you to do this thing, but you go to them as the rightful king and sort of ask them to join your righteous, noble cause, and they will be honored that you sought them out. And these names, there's Flints and the Wolves and the Norries, Little. He says, win Old Flint and Big Bucket, and the rest will follow. And Stannis says, Big Bucket?
Yeah, that was a pretty good response.
It's the only response. And Jon calls them a quarrelsome folk. When they're not fighting one another, they tend their herds and fish and breed the hardiest mounts you'll ever ride. And he even tells Stannis that his father had once said that he had never feasted anywhere like he did when he had visited these mountain families. But to get to them, I should be referring to my trusty map. It's not going to be easy to get to them, I think, right? But once they're there, they'll be able to travel, and they're going to kind of be able to travel and not be seen, and they're going to end up right at Deepwood Moat, which is what Jon says is a better place to try to intercept Ramsay and Roose.
Correct.
Get them there instead of trying to do it at Moat Cailin. And this, I feel like, is really veering off into the picking sides, Jon, but I'm not mad about it.
I feel like it's veering in a plausible deniability.
He's definitely living in
like,
the gray
I was just
area.
talking in hypotheticals, you know, whatever. But yeah, this and the way that, like, when he's explaining how to handle going to the clans, I really do enjoy they'll fight for me, you think? If you ask them, why should I beg for what I am owed?
Oh my God, fucking Stannis.
I didn't say beg. I said ask. You have to go and you know, he says, if you just say you have to fight for me, they're going to be like, who the fuck is this guy? Get the hell out of my face.
Yeah. I love
if that. You go and compliment their daughters and their food and hospitality and all of that, they're going to love it. It's going to be exactly the thing to warm them to you.
Yep. And I love it too.
Give you guides, could or will. I love how Stannis is so suspicious, as he should be. It's good quality in some ways.
I like that it's really important that Stannis go himself. Like, he can't send a messenger. He's got to go.
Yes.
To these people and ask himself. I really like that detail. Who is this man? He is no king of mine. That's what Jon says that they'll say if he tries to command.
Yep.
That shit is so funny to me. Whose man is this? Remember that meme that was floating around everywhere for a long time?
Yes. Goat tracks. I speak of moving swiftly and you waste my time with goat tracks? When the young dragon conquered Dorne, he used a goat track to bypass the Dornish watchtowers. I know that tale as well, but Daeron made too much of it in that vainglorious book of him. I always love the term vainglorious. Ships won that war, not goat tracks. And eventually, well, are they going to, like, stop me from passing? And Jon's like, only because they feed you too much. They're just going to want you to stop and eat and be entertained. And my dad said that he ate real well when he went to see the clans. And Stannis is like, I guess that I could go to some boring parties and eat some food that's free in the middle of winter when most of us are going to be starving, and I'll deal with it. And I was just like, sir, can you just see this as like a good thing at all? Please? Hello?
Nope. Everything is a burden. Everything is being put upon. Stannis just feels like everything is an ask. Everybody is in his way. Yep. Why won't they just get out of his way and let him be king, for fuck's sake? Is that asking too much? I feel like it's just this whole thing right now. And then there's a conversation too about Deepwood Moat and how much easier it will be to conquer it compared to the other one. This one is, he says it's in the midst of a thick forest, easy to creep up on unawares. It's a wooden castle defended by an earthen dike and a palisade of logs. Like, it's going to be nothing. It's just going to be easy peasy.
The going will be slower through the mountains, admittedly, but up there, your host can move unseen to emerge almost at the gates of Deepwood.
Mm-hmm.
Stannis rubbed his jaw. When Balon Greyjoy rose the first time, I beat the Iron Men at sea where they are the fiercest. On land, taken unaware? Aye, I've won a victory over the wildlings and their king beyond the wall. If I can smash the Iron Men as well, the North will know it has a king again. And I will have 1,000 wildlings, thought Jon, and no way to feed even half that number.
And see, this is the way that ends is what got me being like, well, what the fuck did you demand to have them for then? This whole chapter
needs
started.
Them, but
I get it. I get it now. This is, you know, it's, I guess I can believe, because it's really telling me about the quality of people that Stannis is surrounding himself with, which is also, I think, a red fucking flag. But that Jon is, all right, so we know Jon's special, right? I know that he's smarter than the average bear. I get it. But Stannis doesn't have a single other person around him that could offer him this insight that Jon has. No one else knows about these clan folk. No one knows the how is it Kate? Is it Moat Caitlin?
Kaelin.
Moat Caitlin. Moat Caitlin. How that place is situated, like what the specifics are. This is all knowable information, and yet
I think with the clans, that's like a real particular personal, like the clans are not part of the rest of the kingdom in a normal way. It doesn't seem like.
No, that's like a more of a northern, I think, kind of.
Agree.
Right?
Yeah.
But I'm talking about the two, Moat Caitlin and
Deepwood Mott.
Thank you. And that seems like information that you would have. And Stannis doesn't have anybody around him to offer him this insight, or either they're too afraid to, and maybe that's really what it is that no one wants to say no to Stannis.
I think it's a combo. Nobody wants to say no, but I think they're looking at, like, there's a point where Jon says maps aren't land or something like that, where from what it looks like on the map, approaching Moat Caitlin from a certain way will be quite simple, and he has to explain that's super marshy, like you can't bring a whole host of people through that way because they haven't been there and they haven't talked to anybody who has been there, because that is also kind of a northern thing. So they're just looking at it from the standpoint of the map without any in-person knowledge of what the terrain is like and why that's a deal breaker.
So I guess maybe there just isn't anybody available. But if I'm Stannis, maybe that's just it. Maybe there just isn't anybody available that he can have in his inner circle with that kind of really important information. You know, if I'm want to be king of something, I'm trying to have all the right people in the room that I can.
I think that's what he's trying to do with getting some of the Northmen, because he recognizes he's at this disadvantage, and he has Jon at least, which is like a kind of a godsend in a way, but he doesn't have any other Northmen willing to talk to him right now. Yeah, you know, so I think he is aware of that shortcoming, and that's why he keeps trying to get Jon to be Winterfell, you know. And
I guess really what I'm getting hung up on, and it makes sense, because it's not the kind of thing Stannis would ever admit that he needs.
Yeah.
So the closest you get to him admitting that he needs it is literally just him bringing Jon into the room and listening to what he says is as good as it's going to get.
And it also makes sense that, like, every time Jon tries to be like, that's not going to work, all these other dudes are just like so convinced that they know more about war than this kid who is a bastard. He's very young, and he's up here on the wall, not involved in any sort of tactical battle that they have seen other than like defending against the wildlings, which the wall does most of the work. I think that they're just, their vanity is pricked a little bit, you know, their pride at just being second guessed in front of the king, and it being suggested that they don't know as much as they think they know.
I think Stannis says that this plan, the original plan, is actually the idea of one of these men that's yelling at Jon. I forget which one.
I think he does.
When he calls them, because he calls them ambitious, and then it's like, but the plan is, you know, it's a good plan or something like that, he says. And it's really not. It's not a good plan. But that makes more sense why they would be so defensive of it if it's actually one of these guys, if it's their plan. And then here comes Jon poking holes in it. Yeah, they're going to tell him to go fuck himself. Because he's made them he's kind of shown the flaws in the very big flaws in their plan that they were probably super stoked to be sharing and getting the king to agree to do. And then here comes this fucking kid being like, nah,
because if you're the one that comes up with the plan that works, that's a lot of like bragging rights later on. So You want to be able to just cling to your position there.
Right. And I have to
It's all fun and games until your plan fails utterly.
and
At which point you just try to act like you
exactly
this isn't your idea at
wasn't
all.
yours. I don't know what asshole came up with this plan, but I knew it was shit from the very beginning. Don't you remember me saying this is a shit plan?
Oh God.
And I have to keep reminding myself how young Jon is dealing with all of these men who are so much older than him and so much more experienced in a lot of ways. And they just don't have any respect for him. Quite frankly,
they don't have any respect for Northmen, as we see from the way that they mock the, you guys worship trees. At one point, one of them is laughing at the names they have because of like Horsebane and Crow Food and whatnot.
Oh my God, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, he's just like the fucking names, which like he's not wrong, but it's just another piece of evidence of how little they really respect these people or this area.
Yeah, that's a great point, because if you don't have any respect for these people, then you're not going to bother learning anything else about them or the terrain or anything else about like what's important to them, because you have no respect for them. So yeah, that's a really good point too. I don't know, man. It's frustrating.
It is very frustrating.
These chapters were very frustrating. Yeah, I don't know. I need something. I want to say I need something good to happen, but then I don't know exactly what that looks like. But this is like it's stressing me out, y'all. The last couple of chapters have been stressing me out. I don't know what I need to happen, but I need something to happen, because it's like all this dread is building chapter after chapter after chapter. As we're waiting for whatever the next big thing to happens, waiting for Tyrion to make it to Daenerys with his people. And I have like just a sense of dread. I can't really explain more than that. Ugh.
I mean, I don't feel like you need to explain more than that. That's that's it. That's it right there. It's just this sense of dread pervading. That's kind of this book in a lot of ways.
Oh, no.
Because everything is on a knife's edge for so much of it. And it is, you're in a position so frequently of, oh, there isn't a good option at all, is there? Just like, you want to be able to just be like, just do this thing. But even though it can feel very simple to say to just do this thing, there is fallout that's a little unpredictable with choosing that route, and you could be wrong. And then what? It's part of what I love about it, honestly.
Really?
But yeah, it's like I do enjoy, to a point, like questions that don't have good answers, because that's life.
I got enough life.
That's it, right? That's where you sort of like run up against it is, all right, but like enough already.
Right? I've got life. That I've got. I got that in spades. I don't need any more of that.
I really feel you. I really, really do. And so this is just, I like feel this way in a lot of media as well, is like the parts of things that make them complicated and delicious are the very things that I'm too stressed about day to day already. Do we have to, and I don't know. I get it. I get both perspectives. I just really am trying to be like, but the fun of it is that it's full of dread, right? Because I would like for us to be in a good place.
A bang up job.
Attempting. I'm just trying to just put a good face on it a little bit.
Well, I'll take whatever kind of face you can put on it.
All right. Well, is there anything else that you wanted to mention in this bit?
Not that it has anything to do with this book. I do have to say that, like you said, how much you would appreciate the word vainglorious, how much you like it, and that is a word that I cannot take seriously ever again in my life.
Ever again? Why?
There was a rap group in the very early 90s, like 89, 90, 91, called X-Clan. And he would yell
X-Clan.
Yeah, and so it's funny that, like, we're having a chapter about these mountain clans, and then the word vainglorious comes up. But he would say that in the songs, and that's all I can hear now. Whenever I hear that word or read it, all I can hear is them. And I'll have to send you some videos of X-Clan.
Okay, yeah, I am definitely interested.
I'm assuming that you've never heard of them before. They were never like
I have not.
They weren't like ever super mainstream, but they had a couple of hits. But they were like a super pro black, like militant rap group. And,
Nice.
Yeah, and he would. Yeah, I'll send it to you.
All right. Well, folks, let's say hi to new patrons, and then we will wrap this sucker up. Oh, so this week we have got Alexandra Boudreau and Jordan Agnew and Liam Maurice. Woo! Thank you all so much for becoming patrons. We appreciate you. And I just really want to say thanks to everybody who has continued to pledge and joined us more recently. And I am so happy to have you. I've just been really like feeling this deep appreciation lately for all my patrons, because I'm reaching a 10-year anniversary coming up of moving down here. And that is right around when I started Patreon. And I just, when you reach an anniversary and you sort of think back to where you used to be, and you're just like, wow, I really have come a long way. And I don't always step back and look at that. And it is because of you guys. It's all because y'all have decided that you want to support us. You want to see more from us. You want to just generally get us to make more of what you love and want us to be able to live from day to day, which I deeply personally appreciate because I like to live.
Agreed.
So, but thank you guys so much. Really, it means a lot, and it's like very humbling. And I know that word can feel very, you know what I'm saying? But I mean it. I really, really mean it. It's the sort of thing where I'll sometimes be like, really? Y'all just want to give me money for just talking about stuff? You crazy. And it makes me want to do a better job and not forget Stannis's name. Sorry about it. I love you very much. All right. Is there anything else you want to say, Madame, before we wrap?
No, ma'am. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate you. Thank you to Austin for Austin's Info Corner, as well as Austin's Patient Corner. Until next time, toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Jon, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.